So, sometime back, one of the well known commenters on my channel asked a question. His name is Daddy Lolo, and he basically asked, can you do a video on what it would take for R. Kelly to walk? From my understanding, all he needs is 1 out of 12 jurors to say he's not guilty in each of the 4 cases. The prosecutor needs all 12 in each case to convict him, right? So, this video is basically going to be not necessarily about all of the 4 cases. I'm going to focus on Illinois, which has 2 cases, state case and federal case. And the reason I'm going to focus on Illinois is because those are the cases that I covered the most in the greatest detail. I spoke about the New York case a little bit, but I didn't go into great detail about the New York case, right? The New York case is pretty big, and I'm running away from it, so to speak, because I really just don't want to do that work. So I'm just going to focus on Illinois, right? So I apologize in advance to Daddy Lolo for that, right? So now keep in mind, this video is not going to talk about whether or not R. Kelly is innocent. It's not going to talk about whether or not he's guilty. It's simply going to point out the strategies which I think he can use to basically walk free. Now, with that said, there's basically 3 main strategies that he can use, or one big strategy with 3 points that he could use to put him on the path to freedom. And I think the first thing that he has to do, and he needs to do this right away, is that he needs a publicist. Now, the funny thing is that he had a publicist before, and the last publicist he had went out on a very bad note. And I'm not going to go into the details of that. But now I actually have to question the motive of his old publicist. So I actually had to remake this video because after making it the first time around, I found out that R. Kelly's old publicist is now breaking bread with Michael Avenatti. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. To me, it seems like you have a professional obligation to kind of follow through with the work that you've done. I understand that he's no longer working for R. Kelly anymore, but to break bread with someone who was on the other side of the fence and who was doggedly trying to destroy your client, to me, that makes you look questionable, right? So now I wonder if his first publicist was bought and paid for. To me, it makes you look like a sellout. But you know what? I'm not going to go into details about that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to say R. Kelly needs a new publicist, and he needs someone to represent him in the court of public opinion, because there's a lot of things that's constantly being posted to social media, and it looks really bad for R. Kelly. And he needs somebody to constantly get out there and refute some of the information that's out there. He needs someone to constantly get out there and portray a positive image of himself. Now, in addition to that, along the same lines of having a publicist, I also think he needs to hire someone to basically create a professional quality documentary to clear his name. I don't know, call it Surviving the Accusers or something. And I think that one of the things that we're seeing is that we're constantly seeing negative information being dumped into the media about R. Kelly. And not only does R. Kelly not have a publicist, but he also doesn't have a producer to produce a professional documentary on his behalf, or a professional movie on his behalf, to basically exonerate his name. Now, there are a lot of R. Kelly supporters out there, but none of them are doing professional grade videos. And when I say professional grade videos, I mean something that you'd be willing to pay for, something that you'd be willing to go to the theaters, or something that you'd be willing to order on Amazon or Netflix or through some TV channel or something like that. And when I say something you'd be willing to order, not necessarily you're ordering it because you they believe R. Kelly is innocent or guilty. You're ordering because you just want to get a objective piece of information about this whole deal, right? So he needs a publicist and he needs someone to produce professional quality material to put out there. Now, I think R. Kelly would have done this himself. And I think that's one of the reasons they wanted him in jail, because if he's in jail, he can't do interviews, right? He did the one interview with Gayle King, which, in my opinion, could have been better. I think eventually he would have done more interviews, and he would have been wise enough to do an interview where he could control the interview, right? In my opinion, in a situation like this, I would never do an interview where I wouldn't have any control, because your life is on the line. So if my life is on the line, I want to control what questions are going to be asked up front, and I want to control what I talk about in that interview. And then I think in the Gayle King interview, he didn't have that much control. But I think over time, he would have done more interviews and he would have came to the same conclusion that I came to, which is you need to have control in these interviews, right? So I think he would have done interviews if he was out. And I also think he would have made professional music to exonerate his name. He already made one song, I admit, and I think more music would have come out. And I think over time, what would have happened is that he would have become better at doing the interviews and he would have become better at producing music to exonerate his name. So since they've taken him off the board and he can't do that, that's one chess pieces off the board. What he needs to put back on the board is someone to do that on his behalf, right? So wrapping up the first point, he needs a publicist and he needs someone to produce professional quality videos, right? Or a professional quality documentary.